Mike, thank you. Louisville is without a permanent police chief right now, and the department is facing multiple lawsuits. City is also still working on a consent decree.
Louisville Mayor Craig Greenberg joining us this morning to talk about the chief's resignation and what's next for LMPD and the city. Thank you for being here.
Great to be here. Thanks as always for having me.
I want to start right there with the chief's resignation. Was it entirely because of the recent lawsuits that have come to light, or were there several issues at play here?
Well, I'm a look forward type of guy, so we certainly, everything that's been talked about is the extent that I'm going to say about my private conversations with former Chief Jacqueline Gwynn Villarroel. I thank her for her service to our city. We as a community now, it's time to move forward. And so Interim Chief Humphrey has been working every day, fully empowered to do the job as police chief, to continue to move us forward, to make our city safer, to work on preventing crime from happening in the first place, continuing to provide the resources that our officers need to do their job, to, as you mentioned, the consent decree, to make sure we get that completed and implemented well, and really ensure that everyone in Louisville is safe. And so we're off to a very good start.
We had a week there where we found out about lawsuits, allegations, the chief's resignation. What has this done to morale within LMPD?
Well, it's been a challenging few weeks. I mean, don't get me wrong. This is tough for everybody who's involved. It's tough for the community. It's also tough for the officers. As the Department of Justice said themselves, nearly all of the LMPD officers are good people who are doing their jobs well for the right reason and doing it very well every day. And there are a few people whose actions have made it more challenging for everyone else at LMPD and make it challenging for our city. And so we are going to continue to support the officers who are doing their job the right way, the way that we all want them to be policing, to keep us safe, to prevent crime from happening, to respond to crime when it does. And we're going to improve things like training. We're going to improve our approach to discipline. We're going to improve our approach to identifying sexual harassment if it occurs, and then addressing it when it does. These are all things, there's always room for improvement, whether it's LMPD or any other part of government. We need to constantly work on improvement, and that's what Chief Humphrey and I are working on.
You talked about wanting to move forward, and the search for the next chief definitely will do that for the city and for the department. So I want to ask about that process. Are you looking outside the department for the next chief? Are you looking inside? What's that look like?
Right now, I'm actually not searching for another chief. In my conversations with Interim Chief Humphrey, we were very clear. We need some time to address all of these sexual harassment allegations that came out, as you mentioned, Candace, in short order. Address those, ensure our officers have what they need, focus on sexual harassment, improving the processes related to that, improve training, improve the reporting process, improve the response, improve the way that our officers are having their resources to respond to violent crime, continue to move forward with the consent decree. That's a lot. That's a lot for any one chief, for any one administration. That's for an entire police department. That's what we're focused on. There is no search right now. Interim Chief Humphrey is fully empowered to do the job as police chief. He has my full support and confidence, and we are moving forward together as a team right now.
One of the concerning things, I think, with some of these recent allegations is that it involved leadership at LMPD. It was not just one officer out here doing his own, going rogue, right? And so the leadership part is the concern. Then we have this inspector general who was supposed to help police the police. Has the inspector general been involved in these latest sexual harassment allegations? Is he part of this process at all?
Well, one of the things that we did is, following some of these latest allegations that came out, we reached out to the Office of Inspector General, and we wanted to provide more ways where people, if they felt like they were a victim of sexual harassment, they had more ways that they could report that. And one of those ways is to contact the Inspector General.
Even if you're an officer
if you're an officer, that is one path, a new path, because we want everyone in LMPD to have the comfort that they should have, that if somebody is treating them the wrong way, they can report that in a lot of different ways. We want to know, we need to know. That type of behavior is simply unacceptable. And so that is one way that we're working with the Office of Inspector General. We'll continue to make sure that the relationship between LMPD and the Office of Inspector General improves, so that they get the information that they need to do the investigations that they choose to work on.
New leadership at the police department, you would think, is only part of solving the issues that the police department is going through right now. So what else is the city doing to reduce this terrible problem that we have with crime?
Yeah. Well, one of the things is we're working to recruit more officers. We just signed a historic police contract that gives raises to officers. We need about 250 more officers. I understand people across the city, they want to see more police in their neighborhood, working with them, working with small business owners, with leaders of, with churches and other religious institutions, with neighborhood leaders, working on the street, walking the beat to prevent crime from happening. That takes more qualified people. And so we're working right now to amp up our recruiting efforts to recruit nearly 250 more police officers. We're also working on other programs. We're doing a lot of investments in our parks and our libraries for more programs for kids. We need to get our kids engaged, get them off the street. Don't let them hang out with the wrong people and turn to a life that's going to lead them down the wrong path. We need to keep them engaged. During the summertime right now is a critically important time as well when kids are not in school. We've got programs like group violence intervention, other community outreach programs, and then we also need to support families. So there's a lot that we're doing to prevent crime and then respond. The one other thing I'll add is that we need the support of our judiciary as well. When LMPD arrests individuals who have committed violent crimes, that's just part of the process. Those individuals then need to be prosecuted and they need to be held accountable by the judicial system. That is something that we're also working to ensure happens as well, so that people who choose to commit a violent crime have serious consequences for those heinous actions.
We've mentioned the consent decree, which has been in the works for quite some time. Yeah. Why is it taking so long? When do you see this finally being implemented?
I think we'll get the consent decree done by the end of this year. It's a complicated document with complicated issues. We want to make sure we get it right. We want to make sure that we get it right so that it's very clear on what the expectations are for the federal government and for our community and for our police department. And we want to make sure that when we do what the United States Department of Justice is asking us to do, that we can move on as well. There are some cities that have been in consent decrees for over 10 years that have cost them tens and $20 million just to comply. We want to ensure that the money we invest into law enforcement in our city is going to prevent crime from being happen, is going to respond to violent crime when it happens, and to ensure it's doing it in a constitutional way. We don't want to be spending money on third parties that are coming in from out of town and things of that nature. So we're making really good progress. We have a team that's working regularly with the United States Department of Justice, and so I think we'll get something done this year.
There are some people that have speculated online, and you know, online is where speculation runs rampant. We all know that.
That it is.
But at the same time, they said, you know, is it possible that maybe the city of Louisville is dragging its feet because maybe the consent decree won't be an issue if Donald Trump gets reelected?
That's not the case. We are spending incredible amount of time. We have a team from my administration. There's a senior team from LMPD. If we were dragging our feet, we would not be spending the amount of time that colleagues of mine are spending every day, that I'm spending myself, getting kept up to date on what's going on, making decisions about this, speaking with folks from the United States Department of Justice, as I did last week myself. That is simply not the case.
With the issues of the consent decree, the recent allegations, we're now in our third police chief in a very short amount of time. What kind of things can Louisville do, or can you do as mayor, to sort of change the narrative on Louisville, especially as the rest of the country sees us?
You know, Candace, I mean, there are great things happening across our entire city, and we're going to focus on continuing to build on this momentum. Just take last week, for example. I know we had some tough weather on the 4th, but we also, after that weather went through, down on the waterfront, there was an amazing 4th of July celebration. The weekend before that, there was Funk Fest. We're coming off record-breaking PGA championships, 150th Kentucky Derby and the Kentucky Derby Festival, the Gazebo Festival. If you go into downtown Louisville any weekend, you're going to see families having fun. You're going to see tourists from around the country and world enjoying our bourbon exhibitions. If you go to any park, any day of the week right now, I was in Chickasaw Park yesterday for a great new announcement of a new natural playground for kids right on the Ohio River. Our parks are full of families that are enjoying themselves. There is so much positive momentum across our city, downtown and every other neighborhood, and that's what our administration is focused on doing, on the things that families are looking for. We're also looking to create new paying career path jobs. We have our new Economic Development Alliance that is meeting for the first time in a couple of months, that's solely focused on creating more jobs here in Louisville. we're in a great place in our city. We will continue to focus on violent crime. We'll continue to focus on public safety to ensure that everyone in Louisville, in every neighborhood, is safe and feels safe. And at the same time, we're going to keep investing in all of these other things that make our life better for everyone in Louisville.
Certainly a lot to talk about. Mayor Greenberg, appreciate you taking the time.
Thank you all for having me.
We do appreciate it.